Cool. Let's go. All right. So I'm here with Kaylin Brandt, who's my colleague at OfferZen, and she lives in Gqeberha, also known as Port Elizabeth, and she's quite keen on starting a similar kind of community to Deep South Devs. And I get asked a question very often, these sorts of questions. How did you start Deep South Devs? How do you get sponsors? How do you know what kinds of talks to do? Very many. I get asked those questions fairly often. So this is just a great opportunity to do that in a kind of video format and have that saved online for sort of future for other people to look at. So yeah, thanks Kay for your interest. I was recently part of Kay's squad for a few months, my first few months at OfferZen, and she's a brilliant engineer, far beyond her years. Um, and yeah, so it was a real pleasure working with you, and I'm really looking forward to seeing big things from the on the community side in PE. Um, so Gqeberha, I still don't know how you say that. I don't think anyone does. Um, so yeah, go ahead. What would you like to know about Deep South Devs, Kay?
Thanks, Alex. Missing you on the squad. So yeah, some of the main things is how did you grow the community originally?
How did I
We
grow
started
it?
that. Yeah.
Well, the community kind of grew organically. It started about 5 or so years ago, about almost 6 years ago now. Um, and the initial people involved were people just that I knew that either lived or worked in the area. So one of the guys was Trevor Gowing, who at the time lived, he still lives in around sort of northern Milnerton, whatever Tableview area, but he worked here in Jembe in Tokai. So he commuted into work. Um, so another guy, Graham Longman, lived in Notuk and he worked, I think it was remotely. I'm not sure where he worked exactly, but that was the idea. People who lived and or worked in the area. So I knew a couple of these sorts of people. And so the very first events were just me like, what's happening these guys? Let's get together, let's do this. And I created the meetup page, had the name and stuff like that, and then released that on Meetup, and that brought in, a few other people. So there you had this kind of core group of, I don't know, 10, 15 people who came to the initially it was just meet and greets at like the idea is Deep South Devs. The idea is people who are like devs or interested in tech and people who live or work in the South. So both like tech in general and geography. So so that brought together people. We'd meet at like really cool places like Aga Brewery here in Noordhoek, or um, we did tapas at the food barn here in Noordhoek as well. Stuff like that. So we went to Musenberg, to I think Tiger's Milk. Um, it was just cool places in the south. I told them privately, and then had the meetup page, and that just kind of drew in brought out people, and that was the core. And then I guess from there, it just kind of grew organically, word of mouth, and via meetup, and then eventually we got Twitter and I guess like stuff like that. But really organic growth mostly.
Oh, that's awesome. Next time I'm in Cape Town, I'd really like to join you at Aga Project. Like it's
Yes.
a brewery that I've heard of. I've never been. In line with that, why did you start Deep South Devs? Was it just to sort of get a group of people together, so like-minded individuals, or like what was the reason that
Yeah, so there were a few reasons. But what I'd seen, so I was at the time I was quite new to software development, probably a year or two into it, if that. Yeah, it would have been about 2 years into it. And part of how I got into software development was um, building relationships with people in software. So that included people I'd already known. I'd kind of contact guys and ask to get together and just build those relationships. And I'd also attend meetups far and wide. So most of the meetups were in town. There were some in the northern suburbs that I traveled to. So in this way, I just built relationships, aka networking. Um, And I thought that I wanted didn't want to drive so much. I wanted to be able to have some events locally, and at the same time, I'd found myself meeting quite a few people um, in the area who were software developers and who also didn't know each other. They kind of just worked by themselves in their little, kind of gimmicky room overlooking the sea for their European clients, and they didn't, connect with other devs in the area. So sort of all these stars combined, I thought, oh, listen, this would be something. I guess it was something I'd enjoy doing. This, starting creating this platform for people to get together. Yeah, and the other thing is, also been reading some books about like Steve Jobs's the autobiography by Walter Isaacson. I'd listened to that, and it just seemed like while those guys were all great and all the books are written about them, but the ground in Silicon Valley was fertile for the things that were built. And I realized, Steve Jobs and Wozniak, I think they attended the same school, and so you had this community underlying, so people having relationships with people that live around them. This community underlay all of that innovation, and so that's kind of also been one of my motivating factors are for children, and I'm building the world that they're going to live in. And if it's going to be an exciting world where things are built and businesses are made and relationships are made, the bedrock of all that is community. So it's kind of close to my heart to like build community, see people connect, see them form relationships. Yeah. So so we've seen that. We've seen businesses start from relationships made at Deep South Devs. Not haven't yet seen like a marriage, but maybe that's going to come to even. So who knows?
Give it a couple more years. So I'm going to say, like, how do you envision growing Deep South Devs? Getting more people to marry, increasing the community. I'm
Yeah.
joking. What do you see in the future? Sort of more expansion or just comfortable organic growth?
Yeah, like I suppose I thought about growth a lot more earlier in the community. Um, and that was like, for example, we'd have these events at Gembi, and Gembi is a certain venue, it has a certain capacity, and you kind of want to see uh people in that room, because if it's there are a few people, it's an empty room, that's not such a nice event. So that was the kind of growth I wanted, and we'd always pretty much had the kind of right amount of people at the event. um but what do I think I don't really see like I never really chased like huge numeric growth or trying, I'm not trying to um with growth comes a lot of effort, the more people, the kind of more stakeholders, the more management you have to do, the more time it takes. So I've always done this as a definite part-time thing, trying to put as little time in as possible. And so I guess from that point of view, I'm also really not trying to go for growth. But what I do want to see grow is the ideas. I want to see the ideas spread. I want to see people having a heart for community and taking their own time to build community around them, and that enriches one's life, because at the end of the day, relationships is what really gives life its meaning and its spice. um, and that just builds healthy communities when people like each other, when you like the people around you. You have a nice life, and you have a nice, safe, comfortable, happy community, and you can raise children in that community, and it's kind of good things happen. um, so yeah, I'd love to see more such communities proliferate around the country. um, and that's, I suppose, would be the growth. And again, it's not like growing the Deep South Devs brand. You know, Deep South Devs is naturally limited to the Deep South, and I'm quite happy with that. But I would like to see the idea of investing in communities spread far and wide.
No, that's awesome. Like I would definitely say from my side, I'd be more interested in having more events in PE, just because I feel like Cape Town and Joburg, even Durban, are where all the biggest events are held. And it would be nice to see more events and people getting together here. So we have quite a big developer community in PE, but I feel like it's very dispersed, if that makes sense. Very little interaction, unless your friend group has a few devs in it. You were saying earlier that you run it sort of like part-time. Do you run it just by yourself? So Deep South Devs is just you? Do you have a committee, some people that work together, even if it's occasionally?
Yeah, so I'd say like yes to both of those. So it is primarily myself in the sense that I'm the driving force. So if I don't do anything, if I don't kind of make things happen, they won't happen. There's no one out there who will just pick up the slack and run with it and make it happen. If I don't organize events, there won't be events. So in that sense, it's me, but it's also not just me. In that, from word go, I've sought help, uh, where, um, where I could find it, where I've found that there are sort of like-minded individuals willing to help out. Various people have helped out in big ways. Like when I say big, I mean really meaningful ways. Like as in, if they hadn't have helped, the events would not have been as cool as they have been. So like earlier I mentioned Graham and Trevor early on, and then often how it's happened, people hop on it and they hop off. So then kind of Graham hopped off, and then Trevor left that job and he moved on. Then like Rowan came in, and Rowan helped us a lot. Like for the early events at Jimby, he'd organize things with Jimby, and then he'd organize the food and stuff like that, and they just paid for it. And um, now Rowan's moved to Joburg, and now we had this other guy, John Claude. He's been doing all the sort of the gifting. We've been doing organizing. People get coffee vouchers, tea hampers, JetBrains licenses, even a whole Carnegie workshop. We've given away quite a lot of things, and it's admin intensive to do that. Offers Zen swag, and he handles all that stuff. Um, so yeah, so both, but there's no like real official committee, and I've tried the thing of like bringing the guys who've helped out in like together to try to do like a brains trust thing, and then we will sort of make these decisions together. And I found that actually doesn't work. Like it's actually good. I would just need to go with it and just make the decisions and kind of uh because we're all part-time. We don't have the time to like collaborate and get on the same page and all that stuff. So it's easy. Everyone has their own job and they can just get on with it.
But I mean, I think that also brings in that sense of community. People will help out when they can help out. And I'm fairly sure that if an event doesn't happen for a long time, someone will step up and be like, we need an event now. And maybe pull you back in and be like, are we going to organize this? What can I do to help? Right? I'm not sure if that's ever happened before.
Well, so like I mean, Trevor's been bugging me quite a bit. He's one of our partners now at Decode Development. He's numerous times sort of said, "Hey, when because we haven't done an IRL event since COVID, so he said, when's our IRL event?" And so he's definitely helped prod me to getting this thing done, which it's going to happen next month. Hasn't been announced, but we're busy planning it. And also we do these hikes. We do hikes and various things like that. So we have a hike coming up in 2 weeks, and that was totally not me. I just had to like kind of help this guy Pika to help him. Just he wanted to do it, but he wasn't sure. Like, what must he do? He was like, no, just get the copy together, just announce it on Slack and make it happen. So he's running with that. So that's actually probably the first event. Oh, not necessarily, but yeah. Like I don't have to be there. Like that will happen without me. So that's quite cool. When that happens, that's when like, yeah, that's really cool. You don't have to be there, and we'll just carry on.
That's awesome to hear. So Have you hosted IRL events? We're going to check that off as a yes, definitely. How often do you have get-togethers pre-COVID, I'm going to say, but also between the in real life and online events? Like,
Yeah. So pre-COVID, we had two types of events, like the main kind of one traditional like event with a tech talk, one or two tech talks, and you got food and everything like that. Uh, Maybe I'll say we had three per year at the most. I don't think we ever really went above that. They are quite hard to organize, and we didn't have. It was all pretty much one company, Gembi. There are other companies in the south, but yeah, no one else really put their hand up. So I think so that was at most three, and then we'd also try to do these more informal meet and greets or hikes or stuff like that. So a few of those a year. So yeah, and then COVID came and we moved online, and we had I think last year we had 6 events online, like one yeah every other month. Um, I'm not even sure how we did that because I mean that's still online's a lot easier than IRL, but
that's
it's
still a
still
lot of events.
yeah it was hectic. I mean it sounds like it was hectic, but anyway, obviously it wasn't too bad because I'm still here. But um, yeah, so now going forward, how many IRL versus online? I'm not sure. I'm still trying to figure out what I think I would do. So the other side. So since IRL, what that has helped is the content side. So with the sorry the online. Okay. So with the IRL, I mean, we didn't even record them, right? Um, and just so anyone doesn't know, IRL is in real life, the live event co-located. So with the IRL events, we didn't record them. Um, Whereas with the online events, we've recorded them all and we've uploaded them to YouTube. And what I've actually enjoyed about that is now we have this, now we have like content. We're actually producing content, and I really enjoy that. So what I'm thinking is that the online stuff will be when there's a talk that I really want to hear myself. That I just need to get these people, and maybe the people all aren't in Cape Town. So let's do an IRL, and then we'll at least out of that we'll get some good content, like a cool video. Um, but when it's like, okay, IRLs, we just want to meet. We don't really care what the talk is. Let's get the best talk we can, but we don't really care. It's more about the excuse to meet, to get together. And so we'll just find, whatever talk we can. Maybe save the really good talk for online. So it's actually easier to record that, just technologically, it's easier to record back than to have a
Oh, I
camera.
love that. Um, Speaking of the tech talks and stuff, how do you decide on the topics? And do you ever get like speakers in from like international speakers, national speakers as well? Like
So
how,
the
when?
idea, sorry.
How and when?
How and when? Yeah. So the idea with the another sort of motivation for the meetup has been to showcase like local talent, basically, like to give this deep south dev. So it's devs and it's geography. So it's our area. So the more a particular topic or speaker meets those criteria, then the more likely we are to have them. And so I'd rather have like someone who hasn't spoken before, but he's in the area speak than like chase some big international guy to come speak to us. There are lots of meetups getting the international guys in. That's actually not as hard as you might think, to get them to speak, but to hear from a local dev who's never spoken before, who's incredibly smart and experienced, but just hasn't been kind of given that platform and motivation and belief to speak, that's actually a lot harder that's harder content to come across, right? How are you gonna find that? So that's what I quite enjoy, is getting these guys to speak. So yeah, that's pretty much mostly what we've done. Um, yeah, I think maybe with the online stuff, because people don't have to be here. I guess logistically, if you're in real life, then the person kind of has to be close by. Um, but yeah, online has allowed us to venture out. But I don't think we've gone too far. We try to keep it local. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. Local is lekker. So do you have sponsors? And also, if so, how do you get sponsors on board as like the follow-up to it as well?
Sponsors and how do we get them on board? Yeah, so we've had various sponsors throughout the years, like various. And I have not really received monetary sponsorship. So let's just qualify with the type of sponsors we've had. We haven't had,
So
so we
more
do,
in terms of like swag and kit and things to sort of distribute to the developers, potentially um, courses and things like that. So things that devs enjoy and also get sponsors' names out there.
exactly, yeah. So I'm just trying to benefit the people who come. I want them to have a great experience with the community. And then I want so that's what I offer sponsors. We have these devs, um, and these are the kinds of people that you want to have a good impression with. You want your brand to be well liked among these kinds of people, and we have them, and so you can get exposure to them by giving them stuff, and that will create a positive brand association with your brand, um, and you know. Uh,
Are these
so
often like product companies, or are we thinking more development houses and development companies? So,
yeah, well,
for example, you've mentioned like JetBrains. Um,
so it's so JetBrains. They just have a program. Any community, they call user group. Any user group or kind of dev community in the world can just apply, and they'll check you out. And if they think you're legit, if you're legit a real community with real developers, they'll sponsor.
oh,
Um, you just have to have.
that is good to know. You should have led with that.
Yeah. So I found this out from a friend, Adrian, who was doing DevOps days at the time. So they'll give you one license a month if you have 30 members, 30 people at your event. So like your average attendance is 30. If your average attendance is 60, they'll give you two licenses a month. And I think the assumption is that you have an event a month, and we don't quite do that. So I haven't really asked them for two coupons a month. We have enough coupons to give away at our events now. We give away usually two or three, between one and three coupons. Um, a coupon is a license to any JetBrains product
Awesome.
for a year, which is the value of like 2,000 Rand or something. So yeah,
Bad.
so so we've been on that for quite a while now, and otherwise we'll just invite companies to pay for the treats, the food like pizzas and beer and stuff for IRL events, and just gifts, offers. In they just give gifts, decode development. Again, Trevor's, building that company. He was an organizer, so community is quite close to his heart. So they have really cool mirror mugs that they are branded with their brand that they give away. Um, and I had a friend of mine has a boutique roastery. He's also a developer, so he gives uh, like 150 Rand vouchers for online coffee orders. And then I just approached the guys who make tea, Nagiro. They do like boutique teas for like all the big hotels and stuff like that. And he was actually one of my early clients while I was still like learning software in the early days. Well, still learning software, but in the early days. And yeah, I asked him, and he just came on board. So we pretty much have as many sponsors as we can handle. Like if someone wanted to sponsor, I'd probably say, hey, hang on, let me see if I can actually, if we have like the administrative. capabilities or desire to actually administer these gifts. Because yeah, you have to raffle them out. You have to make sure the people who win are real people. You have to follow up, get the addresses, whatever. Make sure the courier's gone out. Do more follow up. You know,
I mean, I suppose that like IRL events make it a lot easier to hand out gifts because
yeah,
they're already there. You can see they're a real person. You don't need addresses or anything.
yeah. So that yeah, exactly. And you do all that before the event. So at least you have the gifts. You get there, and then the gifts they're gone by the time that everything's finished. You're right. Whereas online, you have to now follow up that the couriers happened and everything. Maybe you don't have to, but yeah, it's kind of like the offers in marketplace. You need to make sure that the companies and the candidates are having a good experience. You have to like shepherd that. So it's the same thing. I have to like, it's not enough to say here's a gift and it's gotten lost in the mail. Then they don't have a good experience. I need to make sure that the transaction has happened. So that takes time. But I have John to do that. But I still have to, it's always on my mind.
Shame. That sounds quite hectic, not gonna lie. Thank you very much for answering all my questions. I hope to put a lot of this into practice in the next couple months. It might take longer because part-time stuffs and all that. But yeah, I really appreciate you chatting to me about these things and also chatting to the viewers who might find this interesting. Yeah.
And just to add, so actually there are two other individuals, one in the northern suburbs of Cape Town and one out in, where are they? Like Magaliesburg. And they're also keen to start communities there. We've actually had a couple of meetings just getting together and just to help keep each other accountable and run ideas by each other, stuff like that. So let me know if that is something you'd be interested in as a UK or anyone watching, like in a kind of accountability group. Yeah, that's also something that might like help, just to make
100%.
sure that you actually do it, and you keep the ball rolling bit by bit at a time.
Alex, you know me too well.
Oh, we all
I feel like I started chatting to you about this like a month ago, and then I kind of fell off the bandwagon for a bit.
Yeah, it's really hard, and that's why we don't have as many events as we'd like, because it's really hard to do it part-time. But the plus side is that the growth that you do see then is really organic and it's really good. Like everyone associated with like Deep South Devs, they just have a great experience because they all really want to be there, and when the event comes, they know that there's not going to be another event like that. They must just come, and so it's not like cheesy or anything. It's a real authentic, cool, awesome vibe, and people make the most of it, and you end up making great relationships. And yeah, it's real organic and not manufactured, and that's quite nice. I like that.
That's amazing. Well, hopefully once we have the PE branch or the PE club on our side, we can have like collaborations online, obviously not IRL, unless we find a halfway.
Meet you in the garden route halfway.